I hate voiceover, so let's get this over quick. I put 5 stupid heavy batteries in this camper, 85 pounds each. That's 425 pounds sitting in one spot. So after a couple of months, I started seeing something I didn't like. I called around, nobody gave me a straight answer, so I did what I usually do. I overthought it, reinforced the floor, added a watchdog, and then hit my head hard enough to make this camper officially part of my bloodline. So now I've got one question. Smart move, or am I just inventing new RV problems? Well, Houston, we have a problem. And I gotta do some fixing, and I gotta do some adding to my Victron system. Just so you know, I have used it and I've been enjoying it. It does a lot of things we need to do, but one thing I have come up with is this tray is starting to sag in the middle because of all these batteries. These batteries weigh 85 pounds a piece. So today we're gonna pull them out. I'm gonna cut me a big old thick sheet of plywood, carpet it, stiffen this thing up. And then while I'm in here and working on it, got the batteries out, I'm gonna put in a hardwired watchdog. So let's get to it. First things first is I gotta kill all the power here. I've been charging my batteries here for a little bit. There. Unplug this thing, and then I need to grab either 1/2 inch or 9/16. I'll be right back. These batteries loose. All right, so one thing that we need to do here real quick is I need to get some electrical tape. Tape up this red wire because it's getting power from the sun. My charge controller is it's doing charge controller thing. So I'm gonna go grab some tape, put some tape on that, and we'll pop these batteries out. So I'm just taping this guy up real quick just so that it don't make contact with something and throw a spark. I don't know why it would. Let's get these batteries out real fast. I'll take these batteries out. I'm gonna set them out and because they're kind of paired up, like they're balanced. So I'm just gonna make sure I keep my batteries together. That way I don't get them mixed up with what goes where. This is my original Epoch battery. It's pretty much been in this camper since new. All right. If you can hear that cricket noise in the background, like I said, that's my solar charge controller, so there's nothing I can do about that, so sorry about that. But the goal here is to get these trays out. Then I've got to measure this bay up, and then once I measure this bay up, I'm gonna cut that piece of plywood that's over there. I'll show you in a minute. So first things first, let's get these trays out. These trays are great, and I really like them, so I'm gonna use them on what I'm doing next. So I'll show you that in a second. Just gonna set these out here. All right, throw all this stuff away real quick so I don't end up in a tire. That would be bad. Valerie would be very mad at me about that. So one of the things I've been chasing since I've owned this camper is, you know how things always want to come loose. And so they put these zip screws in. They come loose where these at. So I'm gonna just reuse the screws that they gave me and move them over. And then when I cut that piece of plywood, I'm gonna cut it tight enough that hopefully it will keep them from backing out. So I don't know if that's gonna work or not, but that's kind of how we're gonna try it and see what happens.
That's a hard shot to get.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt to do. I got a couple more to get in. 1 second, guys. One more. Over in the middle of these 2 screws. What the heck? I'm hitting something. Hitting cast iron.
So when they're building these things at the factory, do they have better tools than this?
Oh yeah.
I hope so.
And they used a different screw. These panhead screws on self-drillers are hard to use.
I believe in you. You can do this.
Make a perfect. Mother trucker.
You did it! So proud. You get a sticker and a B+.
Let's measure. Make it 25 by, make 24 and a half. 58. Measure once, cut twice. Is that how you say that?
No.
Well, that's what we're getting ready to do. Gotta mark this right quick. Hopefully my pencil works. And what I mean by pencil, ink pen. Notice I'm using a different, yeah.
AKA not the truck bed.
Right.
We're gonna record if you're measuring that correctly.
58 inches. Riley's like, she's doubting me over here. She says I had my tape measure crooked. And I would love to take credit for this job, or this ideal, but this is purely got this from Josh over at Rugged Red Solar Outdoor and RV Repairs. So if you need something done, we'll put his information in the link below. Good dude. Let me grab my skill saw that's not big enough to do this with. Pause, hit my head twice. I think it's bleeding this time.
Yeah, you are.
So,
You need to slow down.
uno momento. Be back.
Do you know English?
No hablo español.
Who's the president of the United States?
Jose Cuervo. Well, ain't that cute, Clark? It's the biggest Band-Aid we had. Took a piece of skin off. But it'll keep the sawdust out. Valerie's over here laughing at me. It's so funny.
It kind of is.
I don't care. See if this thing fits. Watch your head. Well, I hit my head on like an idiot, as we have discussed on this channel. I hit my head on the cabinet door. I had it open from where I got my bits out a while ago for this bigger bit. Yeah, that's gonna fit. I just got to figure out how to make it fit. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm kind of sitting on this cable here, is I'm gonna notch this board here to here so it's not pushed on that cable so tight. So my pin in here, that way it's not rubbing that negative cable real hot and heavy coming down the road. Gotta fix that. Not a big deal. What I'm doing here is I'm just gonna put a little notch in the back of this board where that ground cable is tied to the frame. And that way when we go down the road, the vibration doesn't rub a hole in my wire. So I'm just using my 4-foot level to draw a straight line. Just not wanting to draw on that piece of wood for whatever reason. Good enough. All right, cut this real quick. Take a razor blade and just kind of clean these corners up. Maybe where they won't, you know, booger something up. So that was the top, so we're gonna cover that. Put this stuff up real quick. This is just a piece of indoor-outdoor carpet. Picked it up at Home Depot, pretty cheap. I'm just gonna cover this up to make it look decent. And if it doesn't work out like I think, then I'll just have a piece of carpet plywood in my bay. Good sharp scissors make a difference. I'm struggling like crazy today. You ain't figured that out yet? If you have a camper, you need one of these. I use this thing all the time. Is it shooting? Yeah, it's shooting through. So, there we go. I thought what I was gonna do is wrap this, but as I'm shooting the staples in it, I think what I'm gonna do is just take and cut it the same size as the board. That way it doesn't wrap over to the sides. I'm gonna take Valerie's advice and do what she said do the first time. This is like arts and craft project, and I'm not very good at arts or crafts.
Very nice. Is this also how you wrap Christmas presents?
No, I use newspaper for those. She jumped. I'm just remembering how I took it out. There's a battery cable on it somewhere. What do you think?
Like a glove?
Like a glove. But you know, Valerie's didn't. I don't know if you can hear her or not, but she asked if this carpet was a fire hazard. But one thing I do think I'm going to do is get a smoke detector, like a residential smoke detector, and put in here. That way, if there's ever a reason to have a smoke detector, it is, you know, covered. So what I got going on here is I've got this level in here just as a straight edge, and then I'm gonna scoot all these in and try to get them relatively the same. Let's see what I got going on. I don't know. I'm gonna go 1.5 inches, and then once I kind of get, I'll just screw them down real quick, and then I might have a little room left over on the other side for future projects. I'm only going to put 2 screws in each one because they're not going anywhere. What I like about these little screws is that they're pretty much flush with the bottom of these trays. These battery trays are awesome. In between the trays, the 3/4 inch plywood, and everything, this should be more than enough to support these batteries. I could seen it when I was looking at it. I could tell, and it's just sagging just a little bit, so it wasn't bad. When I put them in, I was kind of like, you know, like that's a lot of weight to go on that tray. And I actually called Venture, and they said, well, we put like 200-300 pound guys in there, so it should be fine. But the 200-300 pound guys, their weight's a little more dispersed than these batteries. So I'm gonna let my camera girl go. Woohoo! She said woohoo! And I'm gonna put my surge protector in before I hook all my batteries back up. So, but I am gonna put the one battery in. Bye. So that she's leaving. I am gonna put the one battery in so the stupid cricket noise will go away. So let's get that one done real quick. So I had to do some moving around. So what I've done is this is my Servo GX right here, and I had it up there where that watchdog was, or is, and so that gave me room kind of to run my watchdog in a straight line. I need to cut this cable and unwrap these. Of course, this one's super long, so I'm actually gonna make it quite a bit shorter, and then I can kind of start tying this thing together, making it look better. Let's cut some wires. Oh, this is always nerve-wracking, cutting cables, doing this stuff. I was telling Valerie, I'm not really worried about a fire in here because everything's, I feel like, done pretty correctly. But I do think if you have one of these systems, it wouldn't be a bad idea. And it's something I just kind of thought of a while ago. Is I'm gonna go to Home Depot and get a residential smoke detector, just like runs on a 9-volt battery, and then put that in here. That way, if it get fire or smoke or any of that other stuff, you know, you can hopefully wake you up. Got it right there. Right there. Yep, awesome. If you do a system like this, the big thing you want to do is anchor everything so it doesn't move around, because movement is not your friend. Right now it looks like a tangled up mess because that's because it is. The thing that would make me the saddest about this whole deal is if I cut that cable too short and I had to get them back in that Victron. If you've ever done one of these things, that's like the worst thing there is to do, is get them stupid cables stuck up in them clamps on that Victron. That sucks. Big ones. So what I'm gonna do now is strip some wire back. If you score this wire with a razor blade like I just did, you always want to be careful that you don't score too deep and nick the wire underneath. So if you gotta kind of work it off there, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And then you have all these papers in here that just tend to get in your way, so we're going to cut all them out, get rid of that stuff. Never cut towards yourself, it's dangerous. See what I'm talking about scoring the wire? Shoot, hope I got enough. But see what I'm talking about scoring your wires and not being careful where I cut that wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this back a little more, and then I'll trim them wires up to the top of that, so that'll just make that my cut. And so I don't do that again, I'm going to use something else you can use instead of using a razor blade, which is not the smartest thing in the world to do. Is I'm gonna get my little nippers here, nip them back with those pretty easy. Don't know why I didn't do that the first time, like a big dummy. Now you could try to do some electrical tape or something on that. I'm just not comfortable doing it that way. Somebody out there is probably an electrician saying, well, you could have just nipped that off with a piece of tape on it or something, but I got some extra wires, so it'd be all right. So on them Victrons, when you look at them, this is an older one. I think they don't even make this one anymore. I've had this thing for a hot minute because I've been wanting to do this for a while. They say in and out on them. In is power in, out is power out. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. One more. One thing I've learned about working on a camper and solar and all that other good jazz is that you never can have enough stuff. And they use stuff that no one else uses ever. And where's my thing? So we're gonna put ferrule nuts on this guy. Make it a little easier to kind of thread in there and make it look good. And it's funny, I went to like the electrical house here in town and said, do y'all sell ferrule nuts? They're like, oh my God, we haven't used a ferrule nut in 30 years. And all it is a little sleeve that goes over the wire, and it keeps it from, like when you run braided wire up in that thing, you're trying to keep it from basically splitting out on you. This ferrule nut, well, you just crimp this on there and you crimp the ferrule nut on it, and then it makes a connection. That's what I got in that Victron, holding that wire in that Victron is ferrule nuts. So it gives you a little nice crimp on like that. And then I'll take a pair of these dikes and snip off that, kind of shape it back up a little bit, make it a little rounder. There you go. And that is a ferruled end. So we're gonna go do these other ones right quick. And then once I run that up in there and tighten the nuts down on that, or the set nuts or whatever you want to call them, then it won't, then it will even lock it down a little more. I'm gonna be professional Victron installer time all this crap's done. All right, that should make that a little easier to get installed up inside that. And that's what they look like with the ferrule nuts on them. L1 is black. Next one should be neutral, white, green. All right. So that's put in there. So I'm gonna just lock this wire in place real quick, like so. And that will have that side done. So that kind of gets that guy there locked up. Doohickey on this right here. All right, like so. All right, let's get these batteries back in. And I learned a long time ago that when you do these with these straps, it's easier to start the strap before you put the battery in than it is after you got the battery in. When I took them out, you want to make sure you keep them together so that they're balanced them already. So I don't want to get them kind of out of the series and it just turns into a big, I won't say mess, it's just these batteries are used to working together, so why not let them work together, you know what I mean? Now I just need to hook all this crap back up, and then I gotta see if my watchdog went in right, which I'm sure it did. Pretty simple. All right, try to remember how these went. I'm pretty sure that one's missing one. It goes on this negative. And see, when I hook this back up, this is a leg, that's a leg, so that's how you keep them straight. And if you look at my cables, you can see how some of them are kind of long. And you're like, well, why are they so long? Well, when you do this, you want to keep your cables the same length so that they charge and discharge equally. So that's what we did. If a cable is shorter, one leg will charge faster than the other one. This little red wire is a battery balancer, so that way if it basically takes current from one battery to the other and, you know, moves current around as needed. Always want to make sure your stuff is tight because you don't want it to get loose, because a loose connection on batteries is a bad deal, or any electrical for that matter. So always want tight connections. The tighter the better. Just a little bit, there we go. That goes there. Sure you can't see what I'm doing because my ass is in the way. Tight, tight, tight. Fixing it tight. It is all back in there like it should be, hopefully. And quite honestly, I got them straighter. They look a little cleaner, a little better. That guy there on, no smoke. I'm bleeding again, more places. No. Turn this guy here on. Sure hear the inverter kick on. We're inverting. Let's go see if the watchdog does what it's supposed to do. I'm gonna plug it up. I'll be right back. E7 red. All right, something's not right. Hey chat, on the power watchdog, I've got a red face and it says E7. What does that mean? I'm using dog bone. Does that make a difference? Stand by. All right, crisis divert. There's something going on with my plug at my house, so I gotta figure that out. Now I've got an E6 message. I think that plug on the outside of my house is being weird, but it's letting current through now on an E6, which will let me charge my battery. So that's really all I was after. So we'll just call that a win. And then keep filling with my surge protectors, doing surge protector things. I am gonna run to the store and get me a smoke detector and put in here just for safety precaution. And I think that's gonna finish up the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this, learned something, enjoyed my Band-Aid. Like and subscribe. See you next week.